Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. As you enter the room, please hit the like button. And as you know, I have my sister, my lovely sister for Black Righteous Folks Home with me. Say hello, sis.
Hey, what's up? I'm sorry I had my other phone. I had to put the volume down. But what's up? What's up, everybody? If you could please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much.
Exactly, exactly. And as y'all can see the title, Carlee Russell makes it easier for Rex, and I can't pronounce his name, but I'm going to say Heuermann, to hide his crime, to be hidden. Um, so we're going to get into this right on after the 30. Yes, and we're back.
Okay, here we go. Can you hear it?
I can hear it.
Okay.
Carlee Russell, aka Carlee Smollett.
You got to flip that up the other way.
I saw a little toddler.
Oops, my bad. Oops. What I do? What I do?
Juicy scoop update. This girl, Carlee Russell, aka Carlee Smollett, she had us all worried. She said, I saw a little toddler, call 911. I'm going to help this toddler. 911 comes, and they cannot find her. All they find is her wig and her car, but they never find a toddler, no surveillance. Well, she's been found safe. And now they're saying they found some interesting things. The day before, she Googled the movie Taken, bus tickets from where she was. Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert? She also left her work with a robe and toilet paper, and those she took with her when she went missing. She said this guy with orange hair and a bald spot and a female companion lured her away, made her undress and take photos of her. Somehow she escaped, and now she's home safe. So they're not saying anything more, but they're saying we don't have to worry about this toddler or a kidnapper on the loose. Juicy scoop.
What's your first impression from hearing that?
You don't have to worry about the toddler. You don't have to worry about this kidnapper on the loose. Okay. You don't have to worry about neither one of those, although they are both important. Right. Okay, this is weird.
Yeah, meaning they don't exist, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what this whole week's been on fire with different platforms talking about this Carlee Russell, and what I'm discerning from, lately, we'll get into it, is that it's more than likely that this was a hoax. It was a made up story. And this is kind of bad because real victims, real people that are trying to get away, or they have stories or scenarios of danger and life death situations, now have to worry and wonder, are they going to be looked upon like this character here? And it's sad because we're all brushed with the same brush when one Black person does something wrong, but other races of people can do something wrong and it just goes on that one person, like the Rex Heuermann serial killer that we'll be discussing later on in this string. There was no issue or ill will to all white men, only him. But now that this Carlee Russell, everybody's talking about Black women lie. They've been getting away with this. They're not held accountable. All these different things. Now the brush is coming out and everybody's trying to paint us all the same way. And I'm so sick and tired of. That's what I want to get into about her lie. Necessarily could or can make the case of Rex Heuermann more slickier, because of
Mhm.
people not believing, Black people or other women when they cry wolf.
Well,
What do you
nobody
say?
never believes Black women. That ain't never changed. Black women is always the blame of everything. It's always the Black woman. It's never nobody else. It's never the men. It's always the Black woman. But carry on.
Yeah, well, this time though, which was so that made this case so sucky, is that people were trying to have compassion for the first time. Even Beyonce's mother had made mention of this case, and other people were chiming in on this case, and people were really acting as if they really gave a flying fuck about it. That's what made this a little bizarre, because we have so many other cases in times past where Black people won't get any time on the media to discuss their case, or missing, or Amber Alert, or anything like that. So this was the first time that the mainstream picked up this story that I can remember. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get now to the fact that let's listen to. Hold on, let me find the right video. I'm so glad that we're live though, because we had so difficulty getting started. I hate StreamYard. I wish they would stop. They keep on making us try to go crazy around here.
Yeah. Once I heard that the girl seen the little baby aside the road, and this is a
Mm-hmm.
very busy road, a long
Mm-hmm.
road, and not one person stopped, like not one. So here comes this angel child, which is Carlee,
Mm-hmm.
right? She's the angel
Mm-hmm.
that saved the day.
Yep.
Once I heard that, I was automatically like, no, this don't sound right at all.
Well, what I know is even my dog, when she is scared, as many times as I walk her, she still don't act. She acts a fool whenever she's scared, or because she's still in her own element of being a dog, right? She
Mm-hmm.
can only act straight when I'm with her. And a child by itself, it's not going to walk straight, get out the way of cars, stay clear on one side of the road. So I thought it was a little bizarre when I heard the story about a toddler, because toddlers are what do you call it,
They just
reckless.
run. Yes,
they're,
they
they're
just
they're
run.
chaotic. They're just out there. They don't have
Mm-hmm.
no no understanding of what's right or wrong or how to avoid oncoming traffic. They don't know what danger is. So,
Right.
to see that, say that you saw a toddler and it didn't cause an accident, it didn't cause a pile up on the highway, it didn't cause, like a serious mangled car or, something to illustrate that something like of that magnitude of a baby being on the side of the road. I was just like, when people start talking about it initially, I was just like, I'm gonna wait on this. I'm not gonna hurry up and jump on the story because I don't know enough, and that's why I waited. But let's listen to the 911 call. This will give us more insight as to her own words and why it sounded suspicious in the beginning.
I am on Interstate 459, and there is a kid just walking by themselves. Hold on. Where am I are you? I'm right next to the exit 10 by the riverbed, like you get off by the riverbed. Okay, so you're before that exit? Yes. Okay, were you headed southbound or northbound? Like towards Tuscaloosa or towards 280? Towards Tuscaloosa. Okay. And was the child on the left or right side? On the right side. Were they walking northbound or southbound? They're walking towards Tuscaloosa. You're walking southbound? Or how old they look? Like a toddler, like maybe like 3 or 4. Did you pull over with them? Are you still with them? Yes. Okay, are you with the child right now? No, I'm not. I didn't get out of the car. I can see them though. Do you mind staying and keeping an eye on them until we get there? Yeah. Yeah, sure, yeah. Okay, what kind of car are you in? I'm in a red Mercedes Benz. And the sedan or SUV? I mean, it's a sedan. Sorry. Can you put your hazards on for me? Yeah, they're on. Okay. Did you talk to the child at all, or did you say anything to them? No. Okay. No. Do they look like they're injured? No, they don't. Are they white, black, Hispanic, or Asian? They're white. Okay. Is it a male or female? I think it's a boy, a little boy. Right now? Okay. Is he wearing clothes? Yes. Okay. What is he wearing? It's a white t-shirt. It doesn't look like he has any pants on. It looks like a diaper. And you don't see any cars anywhere? No, no cars anywhere. Okay. All right. What's your name? My name is Carlee Russell. And you don't see any injuries on the child from where you're at, correct? No, but I can't really see them that good. Okay, try to keep an eye on them for the best you can, because I don't want you to lose track of them. Okay. All right, and do they have shoes on? No. Not that I can see. I can't really see that well. Okay. All right, I've got them on the way, okay? Just try to keep an eye on them, but officers are on the way, okay? Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, bye.
So what do you think about that call? Did you see or hear anything that might have been a red
Yeah,
flag?
like first of all, if you're looking at the baby, you mean to tell me you can't tell the baby from a boy to a girl? You're
Because they're
looking
saying
right
that
at it.
I think that she's meaning that it's at night, so you can't really see at night.
So so then she see her child, but she didn't go and help the child. Is that what we're talking about?
No, she was tracking supposedly the child, like running behind it to try to catch up to it, and she was on the phone calling and giving a description as she was making her way to the child type of thing.
Okay, so out of all this time going on, right? And while she's calling the authority, you mean to tell me not once have she ever caught up with that child to see if it was a boy or girl, or to talk to the child? Like nothing. Like she never caught up with the child, but the child is just walking, and the
Yeah,
child didn't go in
yeah,
the street or anything, didn't get hit, nothing.
nothing. And supposedly the call went blank after, so that's why they sent the cops to go where her location was last spotted on the call, and they didn't see anything but her left behind wig and some other things that belong to her. Hopefully, you'll hear more with this next video coming up. By the way, fair use of all videos for educational purposes and for observational purposes. This is not hate speech. This is about education and telling and showcasing what it means when you cry wolf and how devastating that can be for real cases that are out here, which has limited or no footage or viewage on media. So this is why this case is kind of important to maybe highlight what went wrong and why, so that we can not have a broad paint of a brush to Black women, because we definitely don't need that right now. So I'm gonna play this other
Hold
video.
on. Hold
Okay.
on. Okay, so she said that the child had them clothes, right?
She said a white T-shirt and maybe some pamper.
So a white T-shirt and maybe a pamper, but then turn around and say, "Oh, she can't see that well." Well,
Yeah,
if
she
the
said,
child is all the way up there, then and it's dark, then how can you see that?
yeah, that's true. That's true. Or unless there's a few lights on the highway where she's claiming that she can see the remnants of a white garment or something, and she's making it out to mean a shirt, and that maybe the other garment is Pampers, but she can't really make it out. But anyways, that's her cover story. You want to hear what they said in the conference?
That makes no darn sense whatsoever. That could have been a white sheet blowing in the wind, going to the daggone forest or something.
That's true. That's
Well,
true.
all right. Well, go ahead, carry on.
Okay, so this was done either yesterday, I believe. They're going to talk, they're going to give, I guess, the highlights to the conference, because the conference was too long. So we're going to just look at kind of like the highlights of what they stated and what this was about.
Carlee called a relative after speaking with the 911 operator. She went missing during that conversation sometime after 9:36 p.m. Traffic camera footage was obtained which depicted this portion of the incident. That footage was analyzed as part of the investigation in conjunction with the 911 call and cell phone data to accurately determine the time frame. Carlee's 911 call remains the only report of a child on the interstate, despite numerous vehicles passing through the area at that time. No one has called to report that a child is missing. The Hoover Police Department did not locate any evidence of a small child walking down the interstate. Data from Carlee's phone, including her Life 360 app, shows that she traveled approximately 600 yards in her vehicle while she was on the phone with 911, stating that she was following a child. 600 yards. That is 6 football fields straight. 600 yards.
So let me correct myself. So she didn't follow on the road by foot. She followed in her car. So she's saying, but still, I guess that's the way that she can tell with the highlight, the beamers of the car, supposedly, where you can see the white garment maybe in the so-called.
That makes it even worse. You're in the car with headlights.
That makes it worse.
That makes her story worse, because if you're following something, you're in the car. You're in a car that has headlights. That means you can see in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So she couldn't see that, and she has headlights. So now what they're going to say? Her headlights were busted. I'm trying to understand.
Well, that makes it more criminal. Okay, let's go.
911 center received a second call from Carlee's mother, stating that a relative was on the phone with her when they heard Carlee scream, and then they had an open phone line. Hoover police officers arrived on the scene within 5 minutes of being dispatched. Several other officers arrived shortly. They located Carlee's wig and cell phone in the grass near the vehicle. Her purse was located in the front seat of her vehicle with her Apple Watch in the purse. The food she ordered for Tzatziki's was also in the car. The items she purchased from Target, as well as the items taken from her place of employment, were not in the vehicle, nor were they located anywhere around the scene. Hoover police deployed all available assets from the point in search for Carlee. Additional resources were called in to include our own drone unit, crime scene investigators. Numerous detectives responded to the scene. Throughout the day Friday, officers from surrounding local and federal agencies assisted Hoover police in the search for Carlee Russell. Officers returned to the scene on 459 to conduct a thorough line search for evidence. K-9 teams from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department responded to check for any sign of Carlee. The child that she claimed to see and anything else that could be considered evidence in this case. Those searches all turned up empty. Private citizens, including search parties organized by her family, friends, began looking everywhere that they could find any trace. These searches took place throughout the day Friday and again on Saturday, yielding nothing. At 10:44 p.m. on July 15th, Hoover 911 center receives a call from Carlee's residence stating that she returned home on foot. In subsequent investigations, detectives obtained surveillance footage of Carlee walking down the sidewalk alone prior to arrival at her residence. She was conscious and speaking with paramedics when she was transported to UAB. Detectives were able to obtain a brief statement from her prior to being treated and released. During the statement, she told detectives that while driving down the interstate, she saw a baby walking down the side of the road and called 911. She stated when she got out of her vehicle to check on the child, a man came out of the trees and mumbled that he was checking on the baby. She claimed that the man then picked her up and she screamed. She stated he then made her go over a fence. She claims he then forced her into a car, and the next thing she remembers is being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. She stated the male was with a female. However, she never saw the female, only hearing her voice. She also told detectives she could hear a baby crying. The male had orange hair with a big bald spot on the back. She said she was able to escape the 18-wheeler and fled on foot, only to be captured again and was put in a car. She claimed she was then blindfolded and was not tied up because the captor said they did not want to leave impressions on her wrists. She said that they took her into a house and made her get undressed. She believes they took pictures of her, but she does not remember them having any physical or sexual contact. She stated the next day she woke up and was fed cheese crackers by the female. She said the woman also played with her hair, could not remember anything else.
The woman also played with her hair.
This is crazy.
She fed her some cheeses. It was playing in her hair. Come on.
I don't understand. Listen, you can remember a baby in pitch dark, according to her, but you can't remember being undressed and touched. You can't remember that, but you can remember everything that happened in the dark.
You can't remember if you were raped or not. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
you got so traumatized you blacked out. I
guess. Not only that, what alarmed me, she said that they put her in what, an 18-wheeler?
Oh yeah.
So this is my question. What did they say? Let me kidnap her and take her home? So they dropped her off at home? This big 18-wheeler truck?
No, she managed to escape somehow after she was fed Cheez-Its and got her hair played into.
What?
And no, the part that really killed it was the guy with the orange hair with the bald spot.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Okay.
She was put back in a vehicle she claims was able to escape while it was in the West Hoover area. She told detectives she ran through lots of woods until she came out near her residence. During this interview, detectives noted that Carlee had a small injury to her lip. She claimed that her head was hurting. She also had a tear in her shirt. Detectives also noted that she had $107 cash in her right sock.
She had $107 in her right sock. The kidnappers didn't manage to get all her money after they stripped her of all her clothes. They missed the socks with the $107 in it.
Out of respect for Carlee and her family, detectives did not press for additional information in this interview and made plans to speak with her in detail after giving her time to rest. Detectives continue analyzing data from Carlee's cell phone that was left behind at the scene. We enlisted the help of the United States Secret Service in conducting this analysis. Part of what data included several internet searches the days leading up to her disappearance that I think are very relevant to this case. On July 11th at 7:30 a.m., the term "you have to pay for an Amber Alert" was searched. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m. the day of her
So
disappearance.
she did a search on her Google, and she was trying to find out would it cost money for an Amber Alert before she went and did her fake kidnap. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm. I'm still stuck on
Unbelievable.
this 18-wheeler.
Huh?
I'm still stuck on this 18-wheeler.
I know that's, yeah. I'm stuck on the hair, the orange hair with the bald head.
The term "how to take money from a register without being caught" was searched. On July.
So apparently she either stole some money or was trying to steal money from her job. So she was trying to learn how to take money from her her job without being detected with the cash box or
I
whatever.
got a question though.
Uh-huh.
Did they say how far away? Because if you're on this highway, right, this busy highway, how far away was she from her home in order for this big old 18-wheeler to put her close enough for her to be able to walk home? How far from her home is she from the highway?
They don't know that because it never existed. But here we go.
13th at 2:13 a.m. the day of her disappearance. The term Birmingham bus station was searched.
Oh, come on. Hold on. It's starting to act up. Come on. Now a commercial's starting to come up. Hold on. I hate these phones when you do this. Please do me a favor.
Close enough for her to walk home. These are professionals, okay? These are professional people. Even if they don't know, even if let's just say it don't exist, they still can give a round figure of saying, okay, this really don't make sense because this chick is on the highway. If she lives way over here in the next town, how did she get way over here to home?
Uh-huh.
From a kidnapper. If the
Yeah.
kidnapper and how crazy would it be for the kidnapper to even be able to put her close enough to home? It makes no sense no matter how you look at it.
No, it don't make sense. Hold on. Oops, wrong way.
A search for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville was conducted with a departure date of July 13th. On July 13th at 12:10 p.m., a search for the movie Taken, a film about abduction, was conducted. There were two searches later to Amber Alerts on a computer at Carlee's place of employment, including one regarding the maximum age of an Amber Alert. There were other searches on Carlee's phone that appeared to shed some light on her mindset, but out of respect for her privacy, we will not be releasing the content of those searches at this time. We've asked to interview Carlee a second time, but have not been granted that request. As you can see, there are many questions left to be answered, but only Carlee can provide those answers. What we can say is we've been unable to verify most of Carlee's initial statement made to investigators, and we have no reason to believe that there is a threat to public safety related to this particular case. Thank you very much.
With that, all questions, please raise your hand and I will call them.
Carlee Russell.
Right now, our focus is to determine those 49 hours. The investigation continues. So to be perfectly honest with you, that hasn't even in our mind or been discussed.
Is it surprising to you that the family has not been involved in the question?
Well, I think the family has stated to us that they didn't think that in her mental state right now, because of trauma of the incident, that she's not ready to talk, is what we've been told.
Question, Chief. Stated that abductor had orange hair. Was this abductor black male, female, black female, white female?
I believe it's a white male. Am I correct by saying that? Was it ever? Yeah, white male.
Is this alleged abductor yet on loose in the hoop area?
Don't believe so.
Chief, Brittany Dion, WBRC.
Only good thing that I heard, at least she didn't blame a black man on top of everything else. You know what I mean? At least she didn't go that far, but still, she still lied.
Toxicology report been done, and were any drugs or illegal substances found in her system?
We have no report of that.
Is any indication of mental illness in this case? There's been a concern in the community that if this were turned out not to be a true story, that the next time a young woman of color was missing, that it might not be taken seriously. How would you respond?
I'd respond to say that we investigate every crime to the fullest, just like we have this one.
Was she traveling with anyone? Was she traveling with anyone since the time she disappeared from college?
And not to my knowledge.
I know you said by a lot of aspects of the story. Where do you think she went? How would you characterize what happened to her?
You know, that's the $100 question. We pretty much know exactly what took place from the time she left work until she got on the 911 call, and we can see getting out of the car on the interstate from that footage. And after that, I think she only knows. We don't know.
But one quick follow-up: her parents. Did you speak with Carlee's parents? Why do you think it is they were so adamant?
Yeah, I think parents are believing what their daughter's saying, and we've had a very good rapport with the parents, met with them on several occasions. I've talked to them today a few times, and to make them understand that we're under pressure from our community, not only in our community of the state, but nationally when the story hit. And I just wanted them to understand that today we were going to have a press conference, and what we were going to detail today are facts. And everything that I've told you today is actual facts. It's not innuendos. It's not what I think. It's not what these detectives think. It is the factual information that we have. Well, I think our detectives have talked to the parents, and we're ready. We're ready to talk as soon as she's ready. So, she called right now. We're ready. How about unknown? We know the facts that we have. Everything else is unknown at this time.
What have the past few days been like for you and your department? This has been a stressful search.
Well, absolutely. And then again, the focus of the investigation that Thursday, when she went missing, of course, the focus was to get Carlee home. That's what we want all. We wanted her safe and sound, and that's all happened. And then, of course, this has gotten to be not only a local, state story, but a national story. So, it is. It's a lot of stress on everyone in the Hoover Police Department, and the mayor, to every citizen here. We want to know the truth.
You stand here. Are you frustrated?
I wouldn't say I'm frustrated. I mean, I'm very happy that Carlee's home. That was the main ingredient here, and then we'll figure it out. I promise you that. We'll end up figuring it out.
Any idea about manpower hours or the expense and all the rest of the searches that might cost the city and the state?
Yeah, we haven't had time to consider that, but it's again, these detectives that are here. This is just a small group of people that have been associated with this case. We have put every available resource that we have on this case because we wanted to make sure that we found out everything. We wanted to get her home, and we have.
So, what do you make of that so far?
If going off of what he said, if he has the facts, then what's the point of questioning her if you have the facts? Because at that point, you really don't have the facts. You only have a consumption. You consume that's what it is. That means that you don't have the facts.
Well, I think the reason why they're saying that they don't have everything else because she hasn't spoken since she supposedly went home. Once she went back home, her parents have gotten a lawyer, and they have claimed that she doesn't feel like talking right now, or that she's not able to speak right now. She's not in a good state of mind, so they're concealing her from speaking to the officers, so they can't really find out, how much of a lie she told, but they know that she's been telling lies. She just don't know, is it from the beginning to the end, to the middle, or what? But, they can't validate or...
but he just validated it once he say they have the facts.
He's saying
pretty much.
They're saying from investigative purposes, they know that the baby on a highway wasn't, no remnants of a baby on the highway was found, no record or of a missing baby was ever reported. No one on the highway around that time has spotted this so-called toddler, and things of that nature as being a fact. They're saying that there ain't no so-called understanding of this as a toddler supposedly being there, and they want her to be able to speak her portion of it, but she's too scared because if you're guilty, you don't want to compile on top of the lies you already told. If you're not guilty and you're telling the truth, then you should be able to have a written statement, or you should have a recorded statement or something to give some semblance of a storyline to collaborate your first story. But she's not doing that because she's acting like a guilty person.
But as a professional, and for those people who actually pay attention to the news and all of that, we all know as a professional, you shouldn't use that word that you have the facts. If you're still doing an investigation, how you would put that is, you're just giving out the information, you just gather the information that you have, right? And you're still investigating. You don't put it out there that you have the actual fact when you're still investigating. That is not the proper way that you address that.
I think they're saying the investigation is over. She's found, and they can't corroborate her story. And they're basically calling her a liar without calling her a liar. They're pretty much saying these things didn't exist. So in other words, she's not telling the truth. But she
Okay,
ain't
so
told
then
us.
therefore, then there's no point of waiting for her to talk. Why don't y'all just go and lock the crazy chick up?
That's what we feel like they should be doing. But let's talk about the fact that the future abduction cases, how would that affect this? There's a small video about that because that's one of the questions that one of the journalists asked. Now, how is this going to affect moving forward with other cases with people of color, women that have missing cases? Are you going to still follow up on those cases as you would before, knowing that this case exists? And that's one of the questions that they brought up again when I mean about this broad brush being stroked and all of us falling in the category now of Carlee Russell. They're looking at us now. They're going. Many people are going to be looking at us like that the same way because that's what they continually do against all Black folks. Whenever one Black person does something, we all do it.
Spring and News Nation law and justice contributor and retired FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer. Jennifer, I've been looking at your commentary on Twitter in regard to this story. I listened to the 911 call, the original call where she says she sees this toddler that evening. Investigators plotting, or rather seeing that she traveled the length of 6 football fields, watching this baby without actually going and picking it up and putting it in her car like most people would, to keep it from running into lanes of the interstate.
Like I see it.
This jeopardize true abduction cases if, in fact, everything appears to be what it is, which is a falsehood.
Well, Adrian, I'm so glad you asked that question because that's really where the harm comes in this situation. Obviously, there's been harm done to her family, to friends, to all of those searchers who looked. But now it just casts a shadow on all these cases, even more so. Oftentimes, these missing cases aren't believed. They're thought to be runaways, and it's really just an epidemic of individuals who are missing in this country. And now we have another instance, like a Sherry Papini, that's been staged in a hoax. And so it's just awful news, Adrian, for the missing community.
And you think about your own family members. We all have someone in our lives who's gone through mental illness, struggles with drugs, addiction, and you think, okay, perhaps she had a lapse of judgment because of something else going on the inside of her. Perhaps there was something stressing her out so much that she had to, embellish or exaggerate the details of what happened to her. For it all to add up to this, but the fact that she had that Google history, it kind of makes you throw everything out.
I totally agree. To me, from that press conference, the big takeaway was the planning. This had been going on for at least a couple of days, all of these searches that they revealed. So it was clear to me this was well planned and well thought out. I think even the fact that she went and got food at a restaurant, but then got snacks at the Target, kept the food in the car from the restaurant to look like she was taken, but took the snacks because she was hungry. It was just, planned out. I'm not even going to say well planned out, but certainly planned out.
It sounds like some tomfoolery. It's some foolishness. But I have to ask you, in your experience, what would police need to do to really decide this was all a hoax, this was a scam? We're still waiting for some indication that they can verify any part of her story. Do they have enough evidence now to say, indeed, we need to charge her with something?
I don't think right now, even though I think that certainly there's probably probable cause, but they're going to want to be able to, before they go to that grand jury, before they charge, have a beyond reasonable doubt case. So what they're going to do is take that ring camera footage from where she approached her home, and they're going to work backwards, Adrian, looking at the footage. Where did she come from? Was she dropped off? And they're going to be able to put together this picture of where she was those 2 days. And I think when they finish that, we're going to see charges. We're going to see false statements. We're going to see false reporting. And they're going to add up the dollars that were used to find her, Adrian. I've been a part of these, adding all of the federal and state and local resources. They're going to get a number on this, and I think we'll see that number.
Yeah, tens of thousands of dollars are likely spent in searching for a woman who may not have ever been lost or in danger at all. Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, thank you so much for being with us. We'll continue to watch the.
Now, let me ask you, because the parents were brought up into this as maybe knowing a little bit more than what they claim to know. There was a rumor that she might have went to some type of hotel, I think the Rooftop Hotel, and someone knew that she was there. And so people are speculating that maybe the parents were in the know, but was trying to help and aid the lie out some more. Would you ever find yourself, or do you think if your son came to you or anyone came to you that was family and they came up with this storyline and you found out after the fact, would you support trying to conceal it? Because there are some parents that would just go for broke for their children no matter what, whether it's right or wrong. They're going to support. Or some parents would be like, no, if you did something wrong, you're going to have to hold your own weight. How would you be?
Yeah, if my sons did something wrong, they're gonna have
Like
to hold
that,
that.
I mean, like that, lying like that.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the fact, you're gonna have to hold your own. I don't believe that. First of all, you're making your kids weak when you constantly just take up for them. If you did, that's not being righteous. If you did something wrong, you're gonna have to own up to what you did.
Now I want to play a clip of her parents because they were speaking out, and again, she's refusing to again make a statement once she just made her way back to the house, right? Like, how did you escape from these so-called kidnappers and you were unscathed? I think she had one lip injury or whatever, but she wasn't really injured like that. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's what I said too. When you look at that long ass road, right? Because remember the lady said, what did she do? Get dropped off? And remember, that's what I said earlier. What the kidnappers do? Go and drop her off close to home?
So here's the rumor. She had broke up with her boyfriend, or her boyfriend had broke up with her. I think he didn't want her no more. And she was trying to make him, stir crazy about this hoax. And supposedly, I guess some way that they contacted one another, she had blocked him. And right when this investigation was underway, she had added him back onto the list where he could do what he was doing before he was blocked on some type of app or something like that. So he was aware, more than likely, this was a hoax then. But let's listen to her parents again. The rationale of her not speaking at all, not saying, a little bit more, or at least do a recording, or at least give a snippet of her remembrance of what occurred as far as her getting home. They're protecting her from speaking, which means to me that she has a lot to conceal.
That moment you all first laid eyes on her again, what was it like?
To me, I mean, just so much joy.
This morning, in an exclusive sit-down with NBC News, the parents of 25-year-old Carlee Russell are speaking out, describing the moment their daughter appeared on their doorstep after being missing for more than 48 hours. What did you do when you saw her?
We tried to hug her as best we could, but I had to stand back because she was not in a good state. So we had to stand back and let medical professionals work with her. But
last Thursday, police say Carlee called 911 to report a toddler walking alone on the interstate. She pulled over while on the phone with a family member who described hearing Carlee scream.
Her vehicle was unlocked, running, all her personal belongings except for her phone.
On the scene, police found no sign of Carlee or a child, and they say no children were reported as missing during that time period. The Russells waited in agony until Saturday night.
There were actually just so many calls and texts from people who maliciously lied to us. I just didn't know people could be so evil.
Authorities have not indicated where Carlee was during the 48 hours she was missing or what happened. Her parents declined to share what their daughter told them, citing the ongoing investigation.
And can you tell me what happened Saturday night? Did you just get a knock at the door?
Anything leading to the case itself, we can't discuss that.
But they say speculation about the circumstances surrounding Carlee's disappearance are only making things worse.
She's having to deal with the trauma of people just making completely false allegations about her.
Her family now urging the public to let the investigation play out, but mentioning an abductor. Her mother asking to read a brief message to the public.
Carlee has given detectives her statement so that they can continue to pursue her abductor.
Do you believe that there's an abductor still out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
NBC News has reached out to the Hoover Police Department to ask whether they're looking for an individual involved. Police have just said they're following up on all information provided by Carlee.
And when I talked to you all on Saturday, you also said your daughter is a fighter and she would find a way back to you.
I felt that in my heart.
Is that what happened?
She did. She found her way back to us. However, we can't discuss the details of that.
But they say one thing.
You know what she makes me think of? Smollett, the dude that was the actor on, what show is that? The singer dude. Is it last name Smollett? I can't remember his damn first name. You know, the mulatto dude that was lying about the two Nigerians that supposedly beat him up in the middle of the night while he was trying to get him a Subway sandwich. Jussie Smollett, that's his name. That comes to mind. Remember how he orchestrated his so-called beat up notion and then was found out that he staged the whole thing with two Nigerians? You remember that story? Hello? You there? Okay, I guess she left for a minute. Let's keep listening to this.
It's clear.
Do you believe she was fighting for her life?
Oh, she definitely fought for her life. There were moments when she physically had to fight for her life, and there were moments when she had to mentally fight for her life.
But she made it back to you.
She made it back.
Yeah, she did make it back. All right, Priscilla, so investigators are obviously busy on this case. What are they looking into going forward?
Yeah, Hoda, right now they're analyzing that initial 911 call and also that traffic cam video showing that car driving on the interstate very slowly with its flashers on, believed to be Carlee's car. And of course, they're looking at the evidence from the crime scene, including the car and her cell phone, which was found on the roadway nearby. Police say that they have been able to account for all of her steps leading up to her disappearance, but those 48 hours when she was gone still remain a mystery. Hoda?
Yeah, leaving behind her phone, her pocketbook, and all those things, a lot of things that investigators are looking into. Priscilla, thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Like I said, this case reminds me of the Jussie Smollett the used to be actor. I can't remember which one. Oh, Empire.
I was here. I heard what you were saying.
Okay.
I couldn't get my thing off mute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hate when that sticks like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that comes to mind as Jussie Smollett has staged his little staged attack that he did, claiming that he was on his way to go get him a sandwich, and two people came from what he say, a Ku Klux Klan or white supremacists had came and hit him upside the head, and they put something on his body. I think they did something, all this made up stuff. But he was trying to like get a better contract for Empire, so he was trying to have this stage thing to get some sympathy for that, but it didn't work. He got busted. Now, what comes to mind is now the neighbors and people that did this search for her. Imagine for 2 days there were people hectically going in the forest. People were like overhead on air helicopters or in cars searching or on foot in this forest, the so-called forest that she mentioned. And it makes it really hard for people to want to get, to be active, to go search for people, especially if you think it might be a hoax. What say you?
Especially now that she's black, so it's gonna really look bad for black people overall now.
Yeah, unfortunately. It
Yeah.
looks like that we have a problem with not wanting to tell the truth completely. And that's really sad that it's going to be a stain on us, which brings me now to this Rex fella. Let me find the first video. This Rex Heuermann, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correct, but he was a serial killer that recently was arrested in Rhode Island. And what we're saying is that it's very easy for a serial killer to get away with crimes when you have people not believing in victims or people missing.
Yeah.
That's a good way for them to hide, because then everybody's looked upon as being cry wolf people. So I wanted to find the first video about this right here regarding this guy. I want to find the right video though. First, give me a second. Do you have anything else to say before I find that video real quick?
No, other than I think that girl needs to get up out of that fake feeling and explain to people what happened and why did it happen, because y'all came public with it, but now you want to be quiet with it. You owe a lot of people an explanation about what happened. Like for real, for real. All of this being quiet, all because of she's traumatized and all of that stuff. How many days do we need?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, the more that she waits, the more it's going to look like she has something to hide and that she's ultimately making it up. Because most people are going to be thanking people for looking for them. They're going to be overjoyed with people's outpouring for help and stuff like that. You want to show a bit of gratitude for those types of things, because more or less those things don't happen for black folks like that, right? So you would want, if it was real, to show gratitude and be like, I really appreciate the outpouring of the community for looking for me, but I made my way back, or something to that effect. She didn't even say that.
Something exactly.
So that really looks bad.
That really does.
Doggone well, you don't be finding too many black women that have a whole lot of people looking for them. I think this is one time that I can recall.
And this is why it's important that she owes these people an explanation. You had a lot of people was worried about this girl. But now you're going to tell me she's quiet or she's not ready. And the cop is not willing to really push her. It's not like the child was beat over the head, was raped, and all of that stuff. Okay, you mean to tell me y'all can't really go in and question this? To me, this looks like a crime. So, you mean to tell me when it comes to a crime, you just gonna sit on and wait till the person is ready to talk about it? Like what?
I think she's going to get charged. I think they're going to collect and gather all their evidence. They're going to cross all their T's and dot their I's, and they're gonna I think gonna grand jury her ass. And
This is
I think that they should, because this should send a message to anyone that would dare lie like that.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going back to this goddamn 18-wheeler, right? So if a child, let's just say the child was missing, right? We know wasn't, again, I'm playing devil's advocate. Let's just say the child was missing and there's an 18-wheeler. So if they was able to snatch up a child and a grown woman, what makes you think there's not other people in this 18-wheeler truck? So for professionals to say that they're not worried about that, to me is alarming as well. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and the reason why I say that, because again, they assume that the girl is lying because they haven't talked to the girl yet. So really, you're still playing it as you think that's what happened, but how do you really know if you haven't even talked to the girl yet?
I think they're going off of past experiences from other
that
cases.
18-wheeler, no.
I think they're going off of other past cases of people that have been guilty and how they act when they're guilty. There's red flag signals that guilty people do, like how you talk, how you look at someone with your eyes, if you look up or down, or all these other things that you may do to signal that you're lying. They probably know different red flags that we're not keen to as detectives that they've been trained about. And they probably have already made up their mind, but they can't outright come out and say that this is, without a shadow of a doubt, right now, a lie. They have to, again, make sure that they cross their T's and dot their I's and have all their stuff lined up to showcase the timetable for everything, for it to be a shut case file on it. And I think that they're going to work on that until they do.
Because if that's the case, this could be a problem too. Because if that's the case, then we need to give all criminals that be doing criminal shit, give them the time to want to talk about it after they done their criminal shit, when the cops ain't even find out the truth yet. It's an investigation. So these criminals, we should just be giving the criminals time to talk about it too.
Well, they're trying to treat her like she's a victim right now, but they're going to switch gears, I think, probably by the end of this week. Probably by next week, next Monday, they're going to probably have a whole nother breaking news scenario about her, and it ain't going to be so kind. It ain't going to be so subtle and vague. It's going to be very direct, and it's going to be, we're charging her for this crime. Alabama is very racist. I see them charging her. So let's get to the serial killer. This guy by the name of Rex Heuermann, if I'm pronouncing it correct. Here is a video that's from Daily Mail. And again, this is fair use of all videos about, again, why it's imperative that we call out liars, hoax people, so that, other people are not affected by these lies moving forward, and why a guy like Rex Heuermann loves to hear people cry wolf. Now he's not in a predicament to enjoy it anymore, but at some point he would have enjoyed hearing the case of this particular Carlee Russell, because that would have been up his alley to stay clear of getting caught longer.
Rex Heuermann. I'm an architect. I'm an architectural consultant. I'm a troubleshooter. Born and raised on Long Island.
Okay.
Been working in Manhattan since 1987.
After more than a decade, police have finally arrested the man they believe is the Long Island serial killer, also known as the Gilgo Beach killer. True crime community has been obsessed with this unsolved case, and allegedly so has the guy arrested for the killings, Rex Heuermann. Police uncovered hundreds of searches on his computer about this case.
That's what I wanted to say. Like, for some reason, people that do crimes, they like to revisit their crime. They like to keep up with the proceedings of investigations and stuff like that, or try to search on the Google or how to get away with this and that and the other, how to clean up crime, crime areas where blood is at and stuff like that, how to do away with disposing of the body and searches that they do on Google's. And he was keeping up with the case. And this is what they're talking about. They were tracking him for some time and they were building a case against him. It took a while to get all their stuff lined up, though, because they didn't have everything all at once.
Was searching. In a 14-month period, he had over 200 searches pertaining to the Gilgo investigation. He was searching, compulsively searching pictures of the victims, but not only pictures of the victims, pictures of their relatives, and he was trying to locate those individuals. In addition to that, there was a lot of torture, porn, and what you would consider depictions of women being abused, being raped, and being killed.
The 59-year-old architect was taken into custody on July 13th at his Midtown Manhattan office and has been charged with the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. The bodies of the three victims, along with one other, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, were found over the course of 2 days in 2010, within a quarter mile of each other along a stretch of highway in Long Island. They would become known as the Gilgo Beach Four. Heuerman has been indicted for the murders of 3 of the victims and is the prime suspect in the 4th. These cases had gone cold for years, but in 2022, a new task force was formed with the express purpose of finding the Long Island serial killer. And at a press conference, police did not mince words when it came to describing the man they arrested.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
So how did this, quote, predator live and function for all these years without raising suspicion? Well, pretty successfully. Heuermann's arrest came as a huge shock to a lot of people who know him. The Long Island native is an imposing man. He's somewhere between 6'4" and 6'6", weighs more than 250 pounds, but he's been described by several people as being affable. Coworkers even nicknamed him Peter Griffin after the Family Guy character. And a colleague described him to Fox News Digital as patient, goofy, meticulous with his work. Heuerman was the president of his own architecture firm in New York City, so pretty successful, and his 26-year-old daughter Victoria worked for him. At least outwardly, Heuerman appeared to be a family man. He's married, and along with Victoria, he and his wife Asa have a special needs son. Now, not a lot is known about Asa. She's kept a pretty low profile so far, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows describing this guy. Trust me. A colleague who wished to remain anonymous told the New York Post that the murder suspect once spoke about the Gilgo Beach killings and allegedly questioned why the murderer would use a burlap net to dispose of the body. And a neighbor also told Fox that he was a bit of an oddball. But if you ask law enforcement, Heuerman is as depraved as it comes. When you heard them earlier, they believe he's a predator. And in court documents, they presented evidence that they hope will prove it in a court of law. Here is some of the most disturbing information that investigators discovered while they were digging into Rex Heuermann. A grand jury was convened, and through that grand jury, the list task force was able to obtain hundreds of subpoenas. Many of them were to search Heuermann's digital footprint, which police say he tried to hide through big burner phones and emails. Law enforcement says Heuermann frequently communicated with and hired sex workers, even up until recently. He also had a Tinder profile connected to a burner email where he used a fake name, but seemed to use his real photos. But it was his online searches.
Isn't that jacked up? He's a married man, successful, looks like the average guy that probably would be loyal to his wife and family. And here he is out doing the same typical thing as all these whoremongering men are typically a part of, which is finding hoes and prostitutes. And those are the ones that were his victims, more or less.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I keep telling people, it ain't the people too much on the outside that's doing the crime. It's your next door neighbor. It's Johnny down the street. It's Susie around the corner. Like, you know,
he
right
does
in your
look,
neighborhood.
he looks like a guy that, like, he looks like a recluse to me, if I'm pronouncing it right. Someone that keeps to themselves. He has that demeanor about him, but obviously he would get jiggy with it in the middle of the night and do extra stuff.
He looks weird to me.
That's not so jiggy with it, you know, like murder. Maybe he has some childhood trauma. Maybe his mom used to beat him or something like that. Some of these childhood stories of parents that were too strict or they would embarrass their son or something, and really one time, you know, one incident that they recall for the rest of their life, and they're scarred about, and they grow this hatred for women, and they want to like make women suffer and stuff like that. I wonder, I'm not saying that this is him, but I am wondering if he does have a messed up childhood that can explain why he went there like that. Like what is the trigger that will cause someone to become a serial killer? I wonder.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's.
That are the most disturbing. Cops say the suspect conducted thousands of searches for sex workers, sadistic, torture-related pornography, and child pornography. His search terms are enough to make anybody cringe. Some of them are truly repugnant, and just a warning, if you look them up, the content of these searches are very dark. But some of the more mild ones included mature escorts, Manhattan. But the majority of them involved sexual violence, particularly against young girls. And he also seemed to be obsessed with the Long Island serial killer case. His alleged searches included podcasts and documentaries about Lisk, updates on the case, and why it hadn't been solved. Let me read a few to you. 1. Why could law enforcement not trace the calls made by the Long Island serial killer? 2. Why hasn't the Long Island serial killer been caught? And the last one. In Long Island serial killer investigation, new phone technology may be key to break-in case. Now, he also searched the names of the victims and their close relatives and viewed hundreds of photos of those victims, the Gilgo Beach 4. Police said he looked at the images compulsively. One of his other alleged searches was for John Dittroff. That's a convicted killer.
And you know what he probably was doing when he was looking at his victims? He probably was stroking himself, being nasty like that, I can imagine. What say you? Are you there? Okay, I'm gonna assume you're sticking again.
Yeah, give me a minute, because I'm remember I tell you I have to cook, so.
Oh, okay. I'll let it play some more. Just keep listening, then chime in when you get a break.
Okay.
Okay.
Suspected of actually being Lisk. Now, the searches were all done in connection with a burner email account. Police say that at the time of his arrest, he had a burner phone on him that was connected to one of those emails. I mentioned earlier that this case had been cold for about a decade and only heated up once that task force was created in 2022 and the Gilgo murders became a priority. Prior to that, there had been widespread criticism of law enforcement and their handling of the case. Now, these victims had all been first reported missing, and investigators are accused of basically putting the cases on the back burner.
And what makes this case, I think, more interesting, I don't think that I saw a victim that was Black. So these white women, when they became missing, they were reported missing. In a lot of cases that result in Black women and girls and boys, they're not necessarily, missing. Not all the cases you can say that are Black. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that most of these cases were brought up as missing.
Because they were sex workers. A local reporter for the Long Island Press penned this scathing headline a few weeks before the bodies of those missing women would be found dead. Lost girls. When women go missing on Long Island, some matter, prostitutes don't. But once the task force was formed last year, it only took 6 weeks for Heuerman's name to come up for the first time. And the task force was pretty intricate. Investigators, lawyers, forensics, the FBI, different police departments, all working together to solve this case. But the key to understanding how the task force honed in on their suspect, we have to look at the crimes themselves. Specifically, how were the victims chosen? How did the killer interact with them? How were they killed and then disposed of? And finally, what did the killer do after?
While this commercial is going, if you guys could do us a favor by liking and sharing the video, we would greatly appreciate it, and also subscribe to Afro Goddess platform. Thank you. Let's see. We're talking now again about Rex Heuermann, who is the Gilgo Beach serial killer, and we're going over his case a little bit to find out what he did and how he found his victims and whatnot. Uh-oh.
Shannon Gilbert was the catalyst to the whole Long Island serial killer case, despite the fact that she isn't believed to be a Lisk victim. Like the other victims, Shannon was a sex worker. In 2010, she traveled from her home in New Jersey with her usual driver, who sort of served as her protection, brought her to a remote neighborhood in Long Island to meet up with the John. Now, she ends up disappearing under mysterious circumstances. Shannon's case is a complicated one, and diving too deep into it will only serve to really confuse matters, as tragic as it was. She did die, likely that night, but her death has been ruled as accidental. But the reason it is significant to the Lisk cases, despite her not being a Lisk victim, is because an off-duty detective was searching for her with his police dog, kind of doing a search exercise. His name was Blue, and Blue alerted him to human remains. That is when the first Lisk victim was found. Now, when that first set of remains was discovered, cops immediately believed that they had finally located Shannon. Only they hadn't. The body was identified as another missing sex worker, Melissa Bartholomew. 3 more bodies, all sex workers, all petite women, would be discovered the next day in that same area of Gilgo Beach. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. The victims were all disposed of in the same way. Their bodies were bound at the head, midsection, and feet, and they were wrapped in a camouflage burlap, the type that you would use for duck hunting. The corpses were all in various states of decay, indicating that they were not killed at the same time, but there was physical evidence left on the bodies of these women. At this point, it was clear to law enforcement that they had a serial killer on their hands. Murdering sex workers, unfortunately, is nothing new. Women in this vulnerable community are often preyed upon because their disappearances can go unnoticed or simply ignored by law enforcement and even sometimes their families. But it's important to note here that the disappearances of the Gilgo Beach Fort did not go unnoticed by their friends and family. Now, something else they all had in common was not only were they all engaged in sex work, but they were all working independently, advertising their services on places like Craigslist and Backpage, which is how police believe they were first targeted by the killer. And when I say working independently, I mean
and that's why it's so important for women that are on these websites or on these dating apps to keep in mind you might come across a weirdo like that. You would hope not, but you have to pretty much like vet as best you can these days, or you could be setting yourself up to having a messed up time, just like these other women are finding themselves in. All you have to do is meet somebody at the wrong place at the wrong time. They could slip you some type of situation in your drink if you're not careful, or they can just hurry up and snatch you up and strangle you, or whatever they do once they get you in a close proximity place out in the boondocks somewhere, or whatever like that. It's just scary to be a woman and to be dating right now. But yeah, be careful about these apps.
They shouldn't be on the app dating anyway.
That's what I say.
That's already a tricky risk. Let alone that it's already scary when you're actually dating in person and just cut the app out. It's dangerous. So imagine just dating people, meeting people on an app.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why people do that. Like you're really putting your life in danger when you do that.
Russian roulette. You playing Russian roulette.
Yeah. I mean, dating is not that serious. People go outside and mingle.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is not for you to grab hold to on these social media apps.
Facts. Yeah. And now we have the new one, Facebook and YouTube. I mean, just so many different ways, even besides other apps. People feel more comfortable on Facebook because you might have a related friend or something like that. They might have their guards down thinking that someone knows this person indirectly or whatever like that. You never know.
I wish I might find love on some daggone social media app. When you got all of these people walking around on the planet Earth, and I could just go outside and pick one off the tree. If I don't want it, I could just throw it back. Okay?
You said off the tree. I never heard that one. You just pick one off the tree. I heard that. You got it like that.
Yeah. Pick one off the tree. If I don't like it, it's not a good pick. I just throw it back. But when you're going on these apps, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting. I'm not that desperate, whereas though I have to come on an app to meet a man. No, thank you. I pass.
I know. Like, if you can't find somebody at the grocery store or at the local bar, or I don't know, maybe just walking around, walking your dog at the park or something like that. I don't know how you meet people these days, because it just seemed like it used to be very easy. Now it's scary. It's scary dating. But anyways, I digress. Let's get back to this.
Or a pimp. And when sex workers do work independently in order to protect themselves, they usually have a protocol that they follow and some sort of backup in the form of a driver or someone they pay a little money to watch out for them nearby. According to the podcast Bliss, who spoke with multiple people connected to the victims, it seems several of the victims broke with their usual safety protocol on the day they went missing. Now, this seems to indicate a level of comfort with the John who had hired them, and there has long been speculation that Liz was either a high-profile member of the community or a member of law enforcement, two groups that would make the women feel comfortable enough to forego their usual safety measures with the assumption that these men would risk their reputation to harm them.
I would imagine, like, seeing his demeanor, the way he looked, some women might have took him as being like a nerd or a guy that's real shy, that was kind of whimperish, because he kind of looked like he was on that level, like a simp type, you know what I mean? But he was anything but.
He looks like a nerd to me.
Yeah. So he probably used his architect or whatever to make people feel comfortable. Maybe he showed a card of where he worked, and he knew doggone well that he had to kill that person once he gave up his information like that. You never know how he lured them, but yeah. But he did it for a long time, though, I must say. 10 years is a long time to get away with definitely murdering 3 and possibly even more than that. Yeah.
It took these cops 10 years to find a man down the street.
and to build a case, because they had to collect evidence and they had to go around about way to do grand jury or whatever they did to subpoena this and subpoena that and all these types of things, a process. So it wasn't like, 1 day or 2 days it could take. It would take months, if not years, to do what they did. So that's interesting. Let's go.
Clearly not the case with Rex Heuermann. He was certainly not a member of law enforcement. A more likely scenario is that the killer was either a repeat client who they were already comfortable with, or that they offered them a sum of money they couldn't refuse. Police believe Maureen Brainerd Barnes was killed in 2007, making her the first of the 4 Gilgo Beach victims. Her body was bound with several leather belts, and 2 female hairs were discovered on one of them. Now, the other victims had been bound by duct tape, and again, female hairs not belonging to the victims were found on 2 of those victims, and on 1, a male hair. Problem was, at the time, because of how long these corpses had been decomposing in the elements, the hairs were too degraded to test for DNA. Technology has since caught up, and forensic analysts were able to use mitochondrial DNA testing to determine that the female hairs found on the victims belonged to Rex Heuermann's wife. Additionally, 1 male hair was also discovered on the bottom of one of those burlap sacks, and that was determined to belong to Rex Heuermann himself. Investigators wrote in court documents, "It is likely that the burlap, tape, vehicles, or other instrumentalities used in the furtherance of these murders came from defendant Heuermann's residence, where his wife also resides, or was transferred from his clothing." In order to test that mitochondrial DNA from the hair against Heuermann's, people needed to obtain their DNA. Cops had trailed Rex for quite some time once they had set their sights on him as their prime suspect. Police obtained 11 bottles from the trash outside of the Heuermann's home in Massapequa and were able to obtain DNA from Asa, Rex's wife. They ended up getting Rex's DNA off of a discarded pizza crust, which was thrown in its box in a trash can on the street near his office in Manhattan. And according to law enforcement, the DNA test came back with more than a 96% chance that the samples of hair taken from the bodies of the victims belonged to the Heuermanns. So if you're wondering why the suspect's wife has not been implicated in the crime, well, for at least 3 of the murders, police have evidence that she was either out of the country or out of the state. It's their working theory that the Long Island serial killer was active when his own family was out of town. Now, the DNA matching is obviously damning evidence, but it's certainly not enough. In order for the task force to find Rex in the first place, they used a database that essentially triangulated phone calls that were made to the victims before their disappearance, phone calls made from the victims' phones while they were missing, and phone calls made to the family members of some of the victims after they had disappeared. Way back when the bodies were first discovered and the victims were identified, police learned that the killer taunted the younger sister of Melissa, Bartholomew, who was just 15 at the time. The calls were never long enough for police to trace an exact location, but they were able to discover the vicinity where the calls were made. And that's how they learned that the calls were made from a burner phone both in Massapequa and in Midtown Manhattan. And according to law enforcement, they later found out that their suspect exclusively uses burner phones and burner emails to hire and communicate with sex workers, to search for disturbing pornography, and to search for information and updates about the Long Island serial killer case. Law enforcement writes, quote, "These burner phones and email accounts with fictitious identities were used in an effort to conceal Heuerman's true identity, conceal his criminal activity, unlawfully proposition sex workers, and attempt to monitor the investigation of his crime." Please.
So where do these people get these burner phones at? Do you know where they purchase these burner phones from?
They can get them from anywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Like from?
I don't have one, so, but I mean, a burner phone, those are the kind of phones that, you just put what you call it, like you buy a card for and you put money on them.
Yeah, I know about the cards. So the same place that you would get those cards to call long distance or call Mexico or something like that is the same place that you can get the burner phones from.
A phone is a phone. All you really need pretty much is the card. You can get cards from like Walmart and all that other stuff.
You just use the card as the burner to conceal the
right.
Oh, so it's not a physical phone.
No, they use a card. They put the card on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if some of them might come with where though you can use some type of app with it or whatever. But I do know with some of these phones, to use a burner phone, you actually have a card and you put in the whatever is on that card, you're uploading it to that phone.
Man, the way that people are able to get away with stuff for so long is because of these different things that they can do. So many ways to hide and conceal yourself for so long, though, huh?
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, I'm gonna play some more.
Also said that the suspect allegedly used a new burner phone for each of the murders.
We also went back and looked at his cell site records, and we compared his personal cell site records with that of the 4 target phones. And we saw that there was areas of commonality.
So the task force has what they're referring to as an area of interest where these burner phones were being used. They also had a rough physical description of the killer from an eyewitness.
That individual was identified as a person who was between 6'4", 6'6", a large man, thickly built, not necessarily overly muscular, but just a naturally big person with glasses, white, and dark hair.
That eyewitness also identified a very distinctive pickup truck as belonging to the killer. It was an early model Chevrolet Avalanche, and after some digging, police discovered that Rex Heuermann had that exact truck registered to him. Now, if you are at all familiar with this case prior to this recent arrest, you know that the 4 bodies of the Gilgo Beach victims are not the only bodies that have been found along that stretch of highway in Long Island. 6 other bodies were found in the same area between 2010 and 2011, so not long after those first 4 women were discovered. The way they were found and how their bodies were disposed of doesn't fit the same signature or MO as Liz. However, those cases are still being investigated in connection with Rex Heuermann. And as I mentioned earlier, he is still the prime suspect in the 4th Gilgo Beach victim's death, Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Police expect that investigation to be wrapping up soon, likely with more charges. But for now, Rex Heuermann was arraigned on 3 first-degree murder charges and 3 second-degree murder charges and has pleaded not guilty. According to his lawyer, Rex broke down in tears and told his attorney he didn't do it. But despite the long journey it's taken to get an arrest in this case, law enforcement says the investigation is really only beginning now. Trucks of evidence were seen being taken out of Rex Heuermann's Massapequa home, as well as multiple storage facilities belonging to him. And it is notable that none of the former victims were found clothed or with their belongings, so those items are out there somewhere. An interior designer who used to work with Rex and went to his home in 2005 to help with a kitchen renovation exclusively told Daily Mail that there was a locked room in the basement, and when she asked about it, Rex was, quote, so weird, and allegedly told her he was full of guns. And a source close to the investigation told CNN that somewhere between 200 and 300 firearms were allegedly removed from Rex's home. As
Wow.
for the open investigations into those 6 victims, also found on Ocean Parkway, well, I will dive into those next week, so come back for the latest. And for more true crime content like this, hit like and subscribe.
He had like 200
Rex Heuermann,
guns. Can you imagine?
What kind of guns were they? Did they say?
I'm not sure, just all kinds of guns, like 200 worth. But
200 guns. Wow.
Yeah, he could have started his own little war. That's crazy.
Wow.
So I want to find this other video in relation. What do you have to say while I look this up real quick?
I don't have much to say really. Besides this man is really. I'm just still baffled how long it took them to find this man. 10 years, and y'all been tracking him though. 10 years. You know how many days that is, day in and day out, that y'all been tracking this man, and it took y'all 10 years just to find something on
him? I know. Now his wife is divorcing him. Like, I guess she just recently said that she was going to divorce him recently, like yesterday, I think.
You might as well. He going to jail for life.
Yeah, but I guess she's making sure that everybody knows that she ain't had nothing to do with that shit.
Man, listen.
Nothing to do with that. In fact, I'm getting rid of this motherfucker. He ain't getting nothing from me while he's in jail.
I'm just gonna say, because ain't nobody else gonna say it, and you know my mouth, I'm gonna say, if it was a black person, it wouldn't have took 10 years. I'm just saying, there you go. Boom.
Yeah, but they're saying some of the technology they weren't able to do at the time is when they were able to develop newer technology, that they were able to get the hair follicles to match.
Excuses.
That's partly a good reason, though. I mean, if you didn't have the machinery to be
okay, so if that's a good reason, then how did they catch everybody else when it comes to hair follicle?
Well, lately, I guess maybe these newer cases, or because they got the newer technology, you know what I mean?
Hair follicle is a hair follicle.
But I mean, maybe the machines can read smaller, the DNA or whatever, the particles or whatever.
I'm not buying it. I'm not going.
You're not going? Okay.
I'm not going. I'm not going.
You think that they should have it perfect. They can't perfect cases, though. I think cases are like individually crafted. I don't think that every case can fit the same mold.
No, not every case is the same. But for them to say, it's because of technology, that's bullshit. Because technology wasn't back then when you locked all these other motherfuckers up using hair follicle. So when it comes to this one man, all of a sudden it's something new. It took you 10 years. No, I'm not going.
They don't use technology. They just use hearsay. They just use people just accusing others of being the crime, even if they had the DNA. Sometimes they would have the DNA stored and they never even perform tests on the DNA. And they put the guy in jail for 20, 30 years. And then they finally test the DNA. And that's what released them from jail. I've heard cases of that where people have spent 20, 30 years in jail and their DNA test wasn't even given, wasn't even taken, of their hair or their clothes or whatever was left behind, or their blood sample or whatever like that. It's because they don't follow through with the case and they still put the black people in jail. That's the difference.
Well, that's something different, as opposed to saying that they don't have the technology to do it. That's something completely different.
Well, yeah, they're giving the benefit of the doubt to the white guy, to this white man versus a black guy. Black people are not given benefit of the doubt. They're just accused, and then they're treated as guilty and wait to see if you're innocent. And if you're white, you get the benefit of the doubt, and then you get the investigation before you follow through with everything. They go through a longer process if you're white. Let's just say it like that. You ready for the next video? Okay.
I'm an architect. I'm an architectural
troubleshooter.
Born and raised on Long Island.
Okay.
been working in Manhattan.
Oh, I think I might have played this one already.
The arrest of a serial
Hold
killer.
on, I played that one already. That's another one I played at first, the first video. Wasn't that one. I'm glad they caught him though. I am so glad that he at least got caught. And I'm sure that people that has family members that were the deceased can have some relief knowing what happened to their loved one and who is responsible for it if they're still alive, so that at least they can put it to rest as far as all the, the thinking about it and torments about who could have been doing it and who is guilty of this type of heinous crime. Is this the same thing?
An architect. I'm an architectural.
Oh, they start off at the beginning the same way.
Born and raised on Long Island. Okay. Been working in Manhattan since 1987.
The arrest of a serial killer over a decade in the making. And police.
Both videos start off the same way. I don't know which one it is. Okay, hold on. Let me just get a whole nother video. I'm tired of that. Anyways, 10 years in the making. You know that my favorite show of all time is Dexter, the serial killer supposedly of Miami. Do you remember his show? Show Dexter.
Who show?
Dexter.
Dexter. No.
No, it doesn't ring a bell?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, here's another video I haven't shown yet. Let's look at his past and see if they're talking about his childhood. This is like an old picture of him before he got fat. Let's see if it makes a difference.
In the Gilgo Beach murders case, a key piece of evidence arrives on Long Island.
CBS 2's Jennifer McLogan reports investigators are going way back in the suspect's life to try to piece together this case.
According to State Parks records, the serial killer suspect was a seasonal worker at Jones Beach when Rex Heuermann was in his late teens and early 20s, less than a 10-minute ride from Gilgo Beach, where bodies of young women were buried.
You would think it would be someone who is familiar with the area. So someone who either spent a lot of time on Ocean Park. Knowing that he's not on the street anymore, I hope that the families can finally get some closure.
So far, Rex Heuermann's been linked to 3 murders, is a prime suspect in a 4th, but the remains of 6 others were discovered near here too. Relatives of other victims found along the beach are still awaiting answers. There is frustration, but still holding out hope.
There's still an awful lot of investigation that has to be done to fully understand how many people were victims to this individual.
Meantime, Google Street posted this shot of Heuermann's vehicle from 2011 in front of the house. There is growing anxiety among some in Massapequa Park.
Guns, one after another. It was 200 and a grenade.
Next-door neighbor Etienne Devillier said his wife caught Heuermann peering over the fence at her sunbathing. Devillier told him to cease and desist.
He complied, and he didn't argue back, and he didn't fight, and he didn't get violent or. I never seen a streak of violence in the guy.
Another neighbor, a former police officer, described on a podcast how he was confronted by Heuermann 2 weeks ago aboard the LIRR over where he was standing.
It's almost like a road rage without the car. I walked away, but he's physically intimidating in the fact that he's 6'5", missing his left front tooth. His voice is very distinctive. I thought he was a bully. I've always thought of Long Island as this safe haven sanctuary, and like this is like, whoa.
Heuermann, an architect, pleaded not guilty at his arraignment. Police say his wife and 2 children were in the dark about his double life. On Long Island, Jennifer McLogan, CBS 2 News.
We have continuing coverage of this investigation on our website. There you can find more information about the suspect's past and more details, all at cbsnewyork.com.
I'm really interested in his childhood. I really wonder if the case is going to bring up, when it goes to trial, if it does go to trial, how was his upbringing and stuff like that? Did he torture dogs and cats before he went on to do that kind of thing? Because a lot of times psychopaths or sociopaths does stuff like that, strange stuff like that. They torment cats and dogs and do really stupid stuff as kids. Are you there?
I'm cooking. Yes, I'm here.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I'm gonna look for this
Yes.
other video. I just wanted to know if you had anything to add before I find this other one.
No, not really. This man is you know what? And I don't believe in the electric chair,
Mm.
but um for some reason I just think this man needs to be in a line of fire.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if you knew for certain that someone really committed these heinous crimes, that you don't waste taxpayers' money, you don't
But
pass go, you just line them all up and have about 5 or 6 dudes lined up and they just aim
no,
at the same.
I think the family should be the one to kill them off.
Oh yeah, let it be an option, because some people can't do it, or some people will feel guilted. So it should be an option. Like if you want to have a family member do it, then you can. If not, we'll do it.
Right.
Wouldn't
Exactly.
that be great? That would be great. I can't recall any other serial. I mean, I'm sure. Oh, that's right. We had so many different serial killers before. The Dahmer guy, for sure. That was one of the scariest ones that I remember. The guy that used to eat people up.
Oh yeah.
And I think he was dating gay men, and then he would have them for dinner. That was crazy. But I'm sure we had plenty other cases though too. Let me see. His wife is not attractive at all. Look at how she was looking. Poor baby. Okay, let's start this up.
So we're just learning new information here as the wife of the Gilgo Beach murder suspect, Rex Heuermann, has officially filed for divorce. For more on this, let's go out to my colleague, Lexi Petrovich, as she spoke with another expert on this as we continue to follow this evolving case.
Latest on the Gilgo Beach murders, more information surrounding the case as well as serial killer suspect Rex Heuermann continues to come out. Many of the new details regarding his past as well as some of his retirement properties. For more on the case, we're being joined by award-winning author Robert Atone. Robert, thanks so much for being here with us. There's been several new developments since we last spoke. What stands out to you the most in this very moment?
Well, the most recent thing within the last hour, Rex Heuermann's wife, this was announced, she has filed for divorce, and it is uncontested. These are reports from Suffolk County here on Long Island. But other than that, it's been pretty revelatory. There's been information about his sort of timeshare property in Vegas. Obviously, there's the sex work connection there. There's also South Carolina, where he and his brother own some parcels of property that supposedly has a lot of sort of junk on it, including the green Chevy Avalanche, which was seen by a witness ages ago. So that car is actually there, from what I'm understanding. They're still taking things out of his house. His lawn is still dug up. They took a doll in a glass case, a child-sized doll. That was kind of a big one. There hasn't been much since then on that. However, there's also information that they took some mirrors out of his house, and they're also looking into other properties that he may own. When I was there the day they went into his house, they were talking about how he owned a home in New Jersey. And also there was, the ties to the South Carolina properties. So that ended up, bearing fruit. But there's also a lot of police work going on across the entire country. A lot of organizations are now liaising together with the task force here in New York, which is the FBI, the Suffolk County Police, Nassau County Police, and the state troopers. So now that his DNA is in the system, it's, entirely likely that he could be linked to more things that have gone on across the country, which was kind of the theory.
Yeah, Robert, you're touching on a lot of really great points here. Let's first just start with that news that's coming down now that his wife has filed for divorce. What do we know about their marriage? Does this come as a surprise?
I don't think it comes as much of a surprise. When you learn news like that, I know his family had reacted pretty, deplorably in regards to learning about what he had been accused of, they were obviously disgusted and dismayed. But it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. It's his second marriage, and she has children that she needs to sort of focus on and take care of. I believe their son might be special needs, so that's the priority right now. He's got to deal with his own problems, so I think it makes sense that the wife would cut ties.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about some of those other points as well, specifically the number of weapons that were found in his basement. You also mentioned the doll, bizarre discovery there. Your thoughts on what was uncovered in the basement?
Well, he's supposedly a duck hunter, so he has a lot of weapons. I think there was like 90, 92, something like that. But also at the same time, like that was something that was said years ago as well, that we should be looking at duck hunters. And nothing ever really came of it. A lot of people kind of ran with other theories, myself included, thinking that it was something else entirely. But yeah, it turns out that was actually true. He was a duck hunter. Also, the burlap was not actually burlap. It was sort of like stuff that a hunter would use to cover themselves. So again, the duck hunting connection there. Even though they did say at the time, there is something printed on the burlap, and that turned out to be camouflage as opposed to like a logo for a company or something like that. But yeah, 92 weapons, and the mirrors, the doll. He obviously has a predilection for young women who are small in stature. The women that the GB4, the GB3 as of now, they think that the fourth, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, is going to be connected. I saw that before, but he clearly has a taste for young, small framed women, and I think a lot of people are reading into this doll as potentially that it is in a glass case. We were talking about it on a thing the other night, a true crime sort of symposium, about whether or not this has anything to do with maybe there are allegations that we haven't even heard yet about him regarding children or something like that, but we just don't know for sure. And information is coming out more and more, it seems, every single day. It's pretty remarkable how much has come out since, the other day, since I guess Thursday or Friday.
Right, and especially as they start looking into other states too, this could just keep getting deeper and deeper. There's also been talk about potential trophies that he may have kept. Is there anything new on this?
Not that I've seen. It wouldn't surprise me. However, there are things that would make sense for him to hold on to. I personally would look at the cell phones as trophies. Why wouldn't one get rid of a burner phone or get rid of a victim's cell phone? That's a trophy to me. It's a very modern trophy. It's not like holding onto a piece of clothing or a lock of hair or something like you see in the movies. It's a very modern thing to hold onto, but I would not be surprised at all if there is more in there. And also, they raided his storage locker. Now, there was a medical examiner at that storage locker, which was in Amityville, Long Island, so not super far from his home in Massapequa, within 10 minutes, about an 8-minute drive. It's never a good thing when there's a medical examiner called to the storage facility. So, again, not a whole lot has been released on that yet, but that did happen.
Right, and he's been charged now in 3 of the murders, linked to potentially a 4th. But what about the other remains that were found? If police aren't linking them to Heuerman yet, do you think they might have some other leads they're looking into?
I saw an interview with the sheriff, the sheriff of Suffolk County, and he was very confident that all of them are connected to Rex Heuerman, which...
There you go. We ain't got to see much more than that. I was wondering if you remembered the Craigslist killer. You remember hearing about that one too? That one was a trip too.
Who was it?
The Craigslist murder.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah, I was gonna play a small clip of that and then wrap it up because you're cooking and stuff like that, and there's really nothing much more for me to add. Do you have anything else that you want to add, or you want to see what happened with the Craigslist murder suspect?
Yeah, you can show that.
Okay, and then just think about whatever you want to close with, because after this, we could wrap it up. I know you don't want to be on here too long.
Yeah, because I have to leave out at 8 o'clock anyway. So.
And it's pretty depressing, anyways. So. It is. Okay.
We're back now at 10 after 8 with more on the man suspected of being the Craigslist.
By the way, this is about 14 ago, back in 2011 or 2009. I think this really broke out.
This killer, 22-year-old Phil Markoff, an engaged medical student, is accused of murder, kidnapping, and armed robbery. NBC's Jeff Rawson has been following this story. He's in Boston this morning. What do they know about this guy, Jeff?
Hey, Matt, good morning. They're just sort of putting this together. What they do know is this is not the typical profile of what you'd expect, a typical profile, as you put it in quotes, of a killer. 22-year-old man, a second-year med student at Boston University. He's engaged to be married. In fact, the couple has a wedding website up right now, counting down the days.
I'm noticing though, how these serial killers, they pretty much have, high IQs. They have jobs that require like you being very organized and clean and stuff like that. The typical nerd that you
yeah.
Marriage, they're registered. This was, by all accounts, an all-American boy, good-looking guy. Friends say he was very normal. Went to parties in college. The kind of guy that would be walking around the campus. He has no criminal history as well. That's something else that's very interesting. This is not some kind of sexual offender or a known drug addict or known to police. This was out of nowhere for the investigators.
And exactly how did they find this guy? How did they manage to track him down?
They say that it was through a couple of ways. I mean, we've been showing you those surveillance pictures. That was important. Police got well over 200 tips they're continuing to follow, but also they went after him.
Now, he's the kind of guy that divestors would probably go for. He's not too attractive, but he looks attractive enough for someone to kind of like want to be side by side with someone like that versus Rex. Rex was an ugly looking motherfucker. Nothing about him was attractive even when he was younger. I didn't even look at him as attractive when he was younger. But this guy right here, I think he has like the typical blonde hair, blue eye probably. How they go to for those types, divestors beware and be warned. These articulate, well-to-do, smart, seemingly innocent and nerdish ones that you might think that you can get away with. Think again.
They say he went after his victims using computers. They tracked him through his IP address. When he logged on, it automatically takes your IP address. They matched that to physical locations. They went and they found him. Same way with his cell phone. In one of those surveillance pictures, you see him typing and texting. They tracked him that way. Police say they've actually been tracking him and following him around for days, watching his every move.
All right, Jeff Rawson. Jeff, thank you very much. James Kehoe was a friend of Philip Markoff's back in college. Today, contributor Dr. Gail Saltz is a psychiatrist, and Pat Brown is a criminal profiler. She's in Washington this morning. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
James, let me give a couple of the ways they're describing this guy. He's a medical student. He's clean cut. He's smart. He's preppy. He's engaged. I mean, so this is more in line with the guy you can imagine, right?
Basically, it couldn't be more accurate. I mean, that's the guy I knew. He's as soon as I met him, he was one of the first people I met when I went to college. I think I even helped him move into his dorm room for a couple hours. But he was one of the first guys that I actually connected with. He was intelligent. Seemed like a nice guy. He was fun. He just wanted to go out, live life, and that's basically what I wanted to do. And that's why we became friends.
So contrast that, Gail, and you wrote a book on this subject. Here's the clean-cut, preppy, engaged medical student with the guy police say was a predator and a cold-blooded killer. These are two very different lives.
They are.
And he's managing to keep them separate at some points.
Completely. And there are people who do lead secret lives. And actually, if they're leading a secret life, this is not an unusual scenario. So, for instance, in the case of like a Foley or a Haggard, that you have urges, intense, maybe sexual urges, violent urges, something you want to do, and you lead a life on the surface that's the complete opposite.
But you see, what a lot of people are probably asking right now, and not with someone like James James, who was with him in a dormitory for a year or so, but family members really.
I would guess that he is hard to read by looking at him right here. You wouldn't look at him and think serial killer. He doesn't look like a serial killer, but he's one.
He do kind of to me.
You think so?
Yeah, he kind of looked like one of those guys that be having Susie in the basement. Yeah.
Susie in the basement. And he looks young too. He can't even be over 30. Look at how young he was.
Mm-hmm.
Close friends who see this guy on a daily basis, and the people are going to ask, there must have been warning signs.
Yes.
Why were they missed?
You know, it's very possible they were, and they were subtle enough that they were interpreted as something else. So, for instance, here you have a first-year medical student. That is an incredibly tough, stressful time in any person's life. He's about to get married. That's a tough, stressful time. So if he appeared anxious, fidgety, removed, isolated, a little odd at
Well,
times.
unless this guy has been doing things like this for 10 years or so, is it safe to assume that something traumatic touched this off?
You know, a lot of stress could have made these urges more unmanageable and made him want to act them out.
Pat, let me just bring you in here, Pat, because one of the things that struck me about this as these crimes were unfolding last week is how quickly and how frequently they were unfolding. This wasn't a guy, whoever did this, if it's Philip Markoff, fine, but this isn't a guy who would commit one crime, go back and cool off for a couple of weeks, and then go out and commit another. There were like 3 crimes in a couple of days here.
Right, Matt. I think we kind of had the reverse that we usually see with serial killers. Serial killers usually have something going wrong in their lives. They've lost their girlfriend, they lost their jobs, and they get angry and frustrated, and they want to get their power and control back, so they go out and kill. I think this guy's kind of the reverse. He's probably a little resentful of the life he's leading, that the pressure he's been under all his life to do this and to do that, to be the medical student, to go to college, to be get married, to follow the path of everybody. And I'm guessing he's probably said things before how he doesn't really like this, but people maybe ignored a little bit of this. But I think as the impending marriage is coming up, what he's doing is saying, you know, they expect me to do all this stuff. You know, I'm going to do stuff my way. I'm going to have my fun, and they're just not even going to realize what I'm really about.
And Pat, let's talk about the murder element here, because it doesn't seem that is his primary goal here, because unlike a Bundy or a Gacy, if murder were his goal, he would have caused harm to more of these women that he's connected with, correct?
Right, but I don't think his goal wasn't just getting money either. This would not be his reason for doing this. I have heard that his friends have said he was rather misogynist. And so I'm guessing that he has an anger against women, an anger against society, and he's found this particular method which he thinks is fun and enjoyable.
Well, let me interrupt for a second.
We might find out, wait a minute, Matt, we might find out if we look back that there's some other elements of power and control he's used against women, like perhaps date rape or something to that effect.
Well, let's bring James in on that one, Pat, because he was there in freshman year. Was there an issue with women?
Right. You know, I would. One of the things that actually, the more I thought about it, kind of struck me about him was that he was, you know, for all intents and purposes, a guy's guy. I rarely ever saw him, you know, out with a woman. He was always the one that would go out with any of the guys on any given night, which didn't really strike me as, you know, a sign of, you know, misogyny. But the more I think about it, the more I realize, you know, one of the normal things people do in college is, you know, just try to go, you know, find someone of the opposite sex to connect with. And that wasn't something he really seemed to do. And I think, you know, if you combine that with the fact that he was, you know, pre-med, he had, you know, his, I'm not sure, but I believe his father was a dentist or something along those lines. This pressure from his family to succeed in that kind of capacity. And that's something that, you know, in my mind can make a lot of people snap. You know, you combine that with his potential, you know, misogynist beliefs, and, you know, I could see where this could possibly come from.
Well, I think people actually are often struggling with, I mean, people have lots of fantasies, but they don't necessarily need to act out on them. But some people have some sociopathy, in other words, you know, questionable moral compass combined with intense urges. And we might find early on in his life he had some traumatic difficulties.
Gail and Jane.
Young, and he had a little demon inside of him, though, a little demon that could not be controlled. Thank you all for appearing. What's up, Michael, and what's up to Purple?
My little brother, Problematic,
and Monique Hill.
My sister, Monique.
Yes, everybody for appearing. Thank you all. I would stay on longer, but she has to go. I have to go. But this was a very sombering uh live, and to wrap it up, the woman that has potentially lied about her kidnapping, it it remains to be seen how it's going to affect other cases coming thereafter, how people are going to look at women in dire straits, if they're really going to take it serious, or they're going to laugh at our so-called hijacks or kidnaps that might be happening forward. But I hope that it doesn't stain all of us, but more or less people are talking like it already has stained us. So,
because it
you know,
has.
yeah.
And going back to this, to the guy that you just played, this is a problem that I have, and I see this a lot, more so in the with Caucasian people. They push their children. They're not the only one that does it though,
Hmm.
because we know other nationality people does it. They push their kids to the limit. It's almost like they're living their life through their kids,
Yeah,
and
that's
their
true.
kids really don't like what it is that their parents is pushing on them, and it causes these kids to either get on drugs or to turn certain ways or to do crimes. They want to do anything other than what their parents want them to do.
Hmm. I can imagine that. I
Yeah.
mean, even though I haven't ever experienced none of that, I can just close my eyes and think about the pressure of someone wanting to make sure that their son doesn't become a failure and do better than what they did, and how they would like influence them to maybe go to the military, or influence them to become lawyers or doctors, something that makes a
Hmm.
lot of money, but maybe it's not in their heart to do,
Right.
and they don't have a desire to do that, but that's the way in which that their father or their mom or their influence is on them to be great and stuff like that. So it's crazy.
Right. We all want what's best for our kids. Trust me. None of us had kids to want them to grow up poor and
Hmm.
struggling.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, it's true.
But the reality of the fact is, when you get to a certain age, you're gonna live your own life. Period. No matter how you was brought up, because what you're doing is you're making your children miserable.
Well, I think it should be an option to either go to college or go to trading school, like, or military. Like, these are the three options for men or boys or young men to choose from, and just let them decide out of the three which one that they think that they would prefer to do, instead of just saying this is what we see you being. You know what I mean? That's different from we have three options for you to try. You know what I
I,
mean?
I think that they shouldn't be given an option. I think what parents should do is sit down and talk to their children and ask them what it is that they want out of life. And then,
Mm,
and depending on the answer that they give, then you help your child succeed in that.
mm,
I don't think they should be given an option. You're only giving them three options. What if all three of those options they don't want? They're not
mm.
interested in any of those options. They
That's
want to be something. Maybe someone want to be artist, but you're pushing them to be, a mechanic. Like,
true.
you understand? I think that once again, parents should sit down, talk to their children, ask their children what it is that they want to do, and then
Hmm.
you help your child succeed in what it is they want to do out of life. That's how I see it.
Now this Carlee Russell woman, who's only 25 years old, she's gonna have to bear the weight of what she did for the rest of her life. She's probably gonna have a hard time getting hired at another job. Can you imagine the stigma that's gonna follow her once this is concluded?
I can't imagine.
Man, like anywhere she goes, she can't hide from her name. She probably gonna have to change her damn name and move to another state.
Yeah.
That's how bad it's gonna be. And she's still young. 25
Or she
is
just gonna forget it and just move on, and as time go on, she's just gonna tell people, that was that. I'm a changed person now. You know how people like to use that as an scapegoat. I'm a changed person now. That was then, this is now. So
that's
she's
if
gonna
she
use that
doesn't go to
tactic.
jail. That's if she doesn't go to jail, but I don't think she'll
That's
get
whether
life.
she go to jail or not.
Yeah. She probably won't get a long sentence though, but she probably will get a whole big bill though in the
I
mail.
think she's just gonna get probation. That's what I think.
You think so?
I think she's gonna get a fine in probation. I don't think they're gonna really lock her up, especially if she don't have any charges. No rap sheet or anything like that.
It's gonna be a big fine though, whatever it's, because that's in the tens of thousands of dollars for all the searching that they do. You know that stuff be costing a whole lot of money for no time.
Mm-hmm.
No time at all. They be coming up with big bills for those searches and whatnot. Using helicopters or dogs and manpower and teams of people searching. I think people were trying to call themselves like maybe probably donating money. I don't know if they really donated money to as a reward or nothing like that. I don't think they said anything about a reward. Come to
No, I
think of
haven't
it,
heard it.
but still the neighbors and stuff think about, personally they took off from work. Some people, spent extra time in the forest and doing all this extra stuff. I would be
Mm-hmm.
pissed if I was one of them. I'd be real pissed by
Yeah,
that.
that's why I said she owed the public an explanation and an apology.
Yeah, and like I said, if I knew that people were looking for me and this is the first time that's really happened to a black person, I would really want to say something other than I don't want to talk right now. But yeah, that's not appreciative at all for people's efforts, and because she's self-centered and thinking about her butt, thinking about sparing her own ass and how she can get out of this. But I don't think she's gonna be able to get out of it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think
Well,
so.
thanks
And
for
she shouldn't.
I appreciate you coming on with me again. We had a rough patch in the beginning. I'm so tired of StreamYards. I wish they would just stay as is. My God. But if you guys have not yet, please hit the like, subscribe to our channel, and I greatly appreciate whenever
And
we come
subscribe
together with a
to my
discussion.
Sister for a Black channel as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
She
anybody
covers
that
good stuff.
anyone that signs up is greatly appreciated. But thank you, sis, for everything, and we'll talk in a couple of days and see what next we can do next time.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Don't forget to hit the like button for me. I appreciate it. This was a good live. Thank you, sister. Like always, we have a good time when we up here together. Because we're
This was
better
one of the
together.
most depressing ones, though. It was kind of depressing, but hopefully it's gonna make us think about what we do moving forward. As far as women that make up stories and stuff, cut that out, please. We don't need other people looking at all of us collectively as being liars. That is not a good thing to do, and that's a bad start. What's up, Ross Seven? Long time no see. Good to see you too.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's all I got.
Okay. All right, everybody. I have to go because I have to make a run. This was like I said, a good live. And me and my sister, we come together. We be doing different stuff, and gonna continue to do different stuff. And hopefully, we're gonna be doing panels. I can do panels. And hopefully, I'm going to say it. My little brother, problematic, and my brother Michael and my twin Rob would hit the panel and we could
Oh
all
yeah.
just talk, like I just want to sometimes just have a talk just to have fun. We don't have to
Yeah.
have no specific thing we want to talk about. We just up here kicking it.
We can just
You
do
know?
random talk. Random
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, so next time if you want to do that, just have everybody hit the link and we just talk about just what's on the news or what's on your mind.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. All right, everybody. Everybody be safe out there. Again, thank you so much. And I will hopefully see you all again very soon. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.